What's up? It didn't ask me if I wanted to record it locally on the cloud, so that's why I look so confused. But I'm Dan Fredenberg, and this is another chance encounter. Hey, what's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg. I'm a commercial real estate guy. I'm from the internet. We're seeing more properties like this being built in front of a house. It's going to be torn down soon. I understand that there are power lines that are getting kind of close. What's up again? This is Dan Fredenberg, and that there is a commercial real estate building. I'm joined today with Alex Kingman. How are you doing today, Alex?
Doing great. How about you?
Oh, I can't complain. I'm pretty happy because I've got my very favorite audience member here with me today. And why are they here with us today? Well, it's because this is a chance encounter. And what do we do here? Well, I interview commercial real estate investors. Why do I do that? Well, the biggest thing is we all have to build our teams. Part of it is you need to actually you have to have a substantive relationship before you start sharing private deals. So if they want to tell me stuff, we got to have proof that we know each other. So what I do is I find out of the 5 different distinct motivations that I found commercial investors have, which one that really matches my guest. And then I pull out the Dan Does Deals commercial roll die, which you can get your own copy of at dandoesdeals.com. It's completely free. It doesn't even ask for your email address, which is a really bad idea for my part. But the point is, I want you personally to be able to effectively communicate on the subject of commercial real estate. But before we get too excited about that, Alex, can you please introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Yeah, definitely. My name is Alex, and I own a real estate investing company. We look for properties in the mid-size range, multifamily properties, and we do value add properties. And basically, we help people invest in real estate passively, and we do the work, and you make money while you sleep. So that's basically what we do. And we sometimes will partner with others and other larger GP companies, or sometimes do it on our own. So
Beautiful,
that's
beautiful.
kind of
So
us.
let's talk real quick here before we get to the motivation piece. I've got my new fill in the blank one here. This question has started off, which is about risk. So please fill in this blank, if you will. There are many popular investment asset classes, but I think blank is too risky. What's too risky for you?
I would say something that is only based on maybe a popular demand of rising
Like appreciation?
yeah, a rising appreciation. So maybe something like a popular shoe brand or something like that, I would say.
Right. Flipping shoes or something like that. Yeah, it
Yeah.
always scares me whenever there's something where, like it could go ahead and gain value, but then, you don't actually get any of that profit unless it actually goes up in value and you can find somebody to pay that much for it. So I definitely
Yeah.
relate. So let's go
Yeah.
on to, did you have something more to say on that or?
Well, I was gonna say, I feel that way about even with like single family flips. Sometimes if it doesn't have, the back out option of, if something goes wrong and your exit strategy doesn't include at least one other strategy where you can rent it out or have some kind of backup, that I don't like that either.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I was working for a single family flipping company for 6 years, and that's what jumped out to me is like, wait a second, so you're putting like $250,000 in, and you're depending on one tenant, like for real? Yikes. So yeah, I could definitely relate on that. But that's going into motivations. I go through motivations first with my guests because sometimes we have some newbies and they know why they're doing this, but they don't really know what they're going to be doing. So I go through these first. So the first motivation I found, it's not mine personally. Some people are in a position where they've got enough assets and the cash flow that comes from owning those assets is how they make ends meet. But these guys have to make more acquisitions as inflation rears its ugly head because that way they have the increased cash flow, and they're not interested in getting rid of assets. They need all of their money deployed all the time. And it's not a big enough thing for me to call it my main motivation. My main motivation is trading time directly for wealth. And that's because I got a tech background. I own a CRM agency. Okay. So that means I've been helping people manage their lists, segment their lists, and then whenever they got something going on, keeping in touch through email, and then building the website funnels and all that kind of fun stuff with them. And that's been a really profitable thing. But the problem is, when you are making money in the form of salary or wages, you're paying more in tax than anybody else, because income tax is way bigger than the other forms of taxation. So it hit me. It's like, well, how can I pivot and make it so that I'm taking advantage of the better taxation when you're accumulating wealth instead? So that's what I'm up to. But a lot of people get into commercial real estate because they want to take control of their time, or they want to one day retire. I think you have to have some sort of real estate play in your portfolio before it's really realistic to retire. But even if you're just looking to take control of your time, maybe you just want to work fewer months per year, or fewer weeks per month, or fewer days per week, or fewer hours per week. Who knows what it is? But this is for people who are looking to take control of their time. That's what they're up to. But the next group, they are not looking to, downshift, take it easy, anything like that. They're super duper ambitious. So they want to buy their entire hometown. They're looking for that generational wealth. They want to make sure that their great grandchildren never have to hold down a day job. And the beautiful thing about having somebody like that on your team is that they're going to be hustling into their 90s. They're not going to be turning around and saying, yeah, but I just don't want to work at all. So, which isn't the greatest thing in a teammate. But that's also true. The last group, I like to say that they're the people who want to save the world, but more accurately, it's people who have found a sector of society, or maybe it's for animals, maybe it's for the environment, maybe they want to send people to space, but they realize that you have to have that financial part all buttoned up if you're going to make a really big impact on society. And so that's why they are making more commercial acquisitions of this type. So of those 5 different motivations, Alex, what combination of them best describes you?
I definitely liked the last one a lot, to help people. I think through real estate investing, we're able to help a lot of people build wealth, and that's really exciting. I think that a little bit of the aspect of time freedom, or even the tax benefits and all of that, it's definitely important as well. Being able to have that time to spend with our kids and our family and stuff like that is really important. So being able for us to have that flexibility, but also to be able to build our empire and everything. We're not looking to slow down. We're looking to continue to grow. So I would say a little bit of everything, but I really resonated most probably with helping others. I think that's where most of the passion comes from for me of the business.
Awesome. So then let's talk about the specific roles then. I go through this die in every single episode of Chance Encounters, and the main idea is because I want you to be able to explain this stuff. If you're going to get involved in commercial real estate, and if you want to involve other people in your network, then you're going to have to be able to explain this stuff. You're going to have to be able to explain all the different players in a deal, and then also how you would fit in those deals. In this case, we're going to find out how my guest fits in. But I always start off with the repositioners first, because they're acquisitions people. They're looking at lots of different properties. They're looking at lots of different paperwork. And what are the repositioners doing when they look at this paperwork? Well, there's a fancy word for it. They underwrite it first, and that means they do the math. They find out, first of all, they're talking to sellers because they're acquiring more properties, and they have to find out, is this property actually even making the amount of money that this seller says that it is? But after they figured that out, they then have to think about repositioning moves, okay, which means how do they change things about the property? And they want to make those changes to find more upside so that the property makes more. So they have 3 main tools in their tool belt to make more profit. The first one is more advantageous lending by going to those financiers. Financiers are people who just deal with paper and money. But the repositioner is more often going to be relying first on operations, more efficient operations to make things work. Stop those Benjamins from going down the toilet. But of course, there's more to it than just unclogging toilets and collecting rents and mowing lawns and taking out trash. One of my fortes that I've been bringing to GP teams is a marketing part, both on the acquisition side and also on the keeping vacancy rate low. That's a marketing piece as well. There's also some opportunity for some of the programming and automation, the systems automations that I've done, to be part of the operations team. But usually for the repositioner, all of that operation stuff, it's probably not enough. And that's why they often want to get a contractor team to do what's called a value add. In other words, they renovate the place, they make it nicer, so replacing countertops and appliances and things like that. The things that make the tenants happy to pay a little bit extra in their rent, because that's the upside that the repositioner is looking for. But if the repositioner has the same problem that I have, which in case you didn't know this, I'm from the internet. So that means they need a local, okay? They need boots on the ground. They need somebody who's just an hour or two away, because for me, that would just be dealing with the airlines, would be that hour or two. So that's not going to be me. So on your ownership team, you definitely need to have a local. But when the repositioner has decided on a property, has started up the paperwork and all that kind of stuff, and they turn around to the financier and say, hey, I want to buy this property that's worth, let's say, tens of millions of dollars, they need to turn around to the banks and financiers and say, hey, so you got, say, tens of millions of dollars that you can lend me? And they'll say, okay, so here's the property, there's the team, okay, that's all cool, but there's one thing I haven't mentioned, which is, who's the KP? The sponsor or KP is who the financier really wants to be talking to, because they're the ones who are really eligible for the loan. And why? Well, if you want to be eligible for the loan, somebody in the fold has to already own a similar asset. So if it's like a 350 unit apartment complex or something like that, and you want a commercial loan, they're going to say, okay, so who already owns a similar asset? Or else the answer is just plain no. Now, on top of that, there also has to be a certain amount of liquidity. And there also, between the GP team, there has to be an amount of a balance sheet that's at least the amount of the loan. But if you get all of those different pieces, you've got yourself a commercial real estate deal. So Alex, as far as core competencies and contributions, what are you most likely to contribute to your next deal of those different roles?
Yeah, so we have a lot of experience in adding value, especially through physical improvements of the properties. We can also improve operations, that kind of thing. So we do well there. I'm really good with people, so having those relationships with potential investors and that kind of thing, that's definitely an area where I thrive. And obviously you can't just capital raise, but that tends to be a space that I spend most of my time in, whereas my partner spends most of his time focusing on the physical value add side of things. So those are our main strengths in our company.
Yep. Yeah, I love that. Especially because like every repositioner has to have some financier roles in them anyway. You have to do that. But we'll get back into people in a moment. Before we continue talking about people, let's talk about the ideal deal. So if you are talking to a commercial real estate investor and somebody says, well, what's your buy box? What's your ideal property? They're really asking about three things. The first thing is the geography. So they're going to want some states and they're not going to want some others. So which states are you actually interested in? What counties are you interested? What neighborhood are you interested in? That geography is all going to count. The second thing is going to be the deal size, and we're talking about multifamily and retail and mobile home parks and self-storage. They tell the size of the deal based on the unit count, whereas like with industrial or warehousing, they'd be asking about square footage. But that unit count is going to be what really separates different commercial investors. So that's the second thing they're going to want to know. The third thing, it's actually one word and it has two different meanings. which I hate, but it's called class. The first meaning of the word class is, what's the building like? Like, what kind of condition is it in? Is it old and beat up, or is it brand new and immaculate? Is it full of luxuries, or is it really bare bones? Okay, that's the first meaning of class. The second meaning of class has to do with the area that the property's in. So that's more talking about the crime rate and the school districts and things like that. And both of those, they use the same word class, but they also use the same rating system, just like in grade school where you have like C plus and B minus and A minus and all that sort of stuff. So Alex, as far as deals that are much easier for you to say yes to and more difficult to say no, what would be the best thing that somebody could bring to you or offer to sell you, or have in hand for you?
Yeah, so when we do deals on our own, we focus a little bit smaller, and then when we joint venture with people who, in companies who have a little more experience, then we tend to do bigger deals. So typically what we look for is anything that is 10 to 100 units. We have markets already in northern Florida and also in northern Indiana, and we are open to any of the markets that are investor friendly, landlord friendly, tax friendly. Those are the typical markets that we look at, and we're open to. Property wise, we look for value add properties. So we look for properties that are maybe in we don't like to go under like C plus areas, but that and up area wise. And then the properties themselves can be maybe C, B or C type properties that we can then improve to become, a step higher up than that. So that's our main criteria for our deals. Yeah, and then something we can usually add some type of physical value add to is our favorite, but we look at other stuff too.
All right, beautiful. So then the next thing then is getting back to people. My favorite part of commercial real estate is how that, because there's so many different roles and nobody's going to be all of the sides of the die for any meaningful amount of time. So we're all better off with bigger teams, knowing more people. And one thing that's interesting though is that because we all have our own specific skill sets, we're also better suited to help some people more than others. Me personally, with my marketing and tech background, all that kind of fun stuff, I'm always on the lookout for more sponsors and KPs because they've already got a foundation. They've got some sort of business that can support the help of somebody like me, and I can really be that fuel on the fire rather than just another person, another set of boots on the ground. So that's who I tend to look for. And Alex, I don't know about you. Who are you best suited to help? Is it like beginners, people who are already established? Which role do you tend to be able to help disproportionately?
Yeah, we tend to be able to help with when it's larger deals on teams that are looking for more help. We look to help on both the capital raising side, but also on the asset management side, because our team has both. And we also are able to help KPs if they want to get into a deal with us on smaller deals if we're doing it on our own. Otherwise, usually, the other teams usually already have their own KPs set up or whatever, or however they have that set up. And then I think those are kind of the two main ones where we can really help others, is with the construction side of the asset management and also with helping just put the deal together on the front end as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. And then as far as the way that those people can reach out to you, we ended up catching up through some meetups. I tend to find everything through LinkedIn. That's a great way to reach me. How about you? Is LinkedIn the best way, or is there a website that's better? Or how should people reach out for this?
That's a good question. I would say LinkedIn is probably the best way to reach out, and I can provide that info.
Yeah, great. Yeah, your name is in the title down there, and there aren't too many Kingman, so it's even though there were some movies. Any relation to that British, the secret spy like 007 movies? No.
Not that I know of.
Oh, okay, so it's not like it's not like your grandfather was secretly in that group or something. I'm just being an idiot. But anyway, there's only one more thing that I have to mention, which is actually for you, which is I've got this social awareness campaign, which is called Stop All the Big Ugly Red Buttons. And if you look under my left hand, you'll notice there's a big ugly red button. And it's a travesty. It's a tragedy. It's the things are ugly. You got to get rid of that button. Imagine somebody walks behind you, sees your screen, and sees there's that big ugly red button. Like, what are they going to think about you? It's terrible. You know that it's free, right? You just click on it, and then it turns gray. And the gray is you got to see the gray button, okay? It's the one that says subscribe on it. And so if you hit that button, then the red button is out of your life. It doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to put in your email or any of that silliness. And all jokes aside, what it really means is that YouTube might start paying for these videos instead of me. And so that's really why I end up asking everybody, but I should tell you full disclosure what it really means. It means that my videos might show up on your list of suggestions, but you can go ahead and ignore them. That's perfectly fine, because after all, I appreciate the time that you spent with us. Just like Alex, I appreciate you joining me today. This has been fantastic getting to know you better.
You as well.
Awesome. Thanks. Make sure you 506B me. Any syndicators, make sure you 506B me. Oh, hey, yeah, here's my code. You got your QR code scanner? Okay, yeah, oh yeah, just hold it right in the square there. Okay, cool. And now you hit open in browser.
Okay.
Okay, are you already logged into 506BME?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, so there's my video. So now I'm already on your watch list. So when you get back to your hotel, you can find out what my core competencies are and my level of sophistication. Sound good?
Yeah.
I love your hat. Real estate's a scam. That's really funny.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you.
You too.
506B me, everybody.